All right, let's jump right in. Imagine you're buying something really valuable, say specialty coffee or industrial-grade hemp. Now, what if you could prove its quality, its origin, with actual mathematical certainty, without having to trust a single word from the company selling it? Well, that's the whole idea behind what's called a trustless commodity. And today, we're going to break down the incredible tech that could actually make this happen.
I mean, really think about it for a second. When you see a label that says organic or fair trade, what are you actually trusting? A sticker, a logo, maybe a database that's owned by the very company that's trying to sell you the product? Yeah, this basic question of trust, it's a massive, massive problem in global trade.
And this isn't some small hiccup. The source material flat out calls it a crisis of trust. You've got buyers on one side of the planet who are frankly super skeptical of what producers on the other side are telling them. The old solution? Hire some expensive centralized auditor to fly out and check things. But that's slow. It's expensive, and it definitely can't give you real-time proof.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the core problem, something called the privacy paradox. Then we'll get into the really cool solution, splitting the ledger. After that, we'll follow a real-world example, literally a bale of hemp from a farm in Uganda. We'll explore why a specific network called Freenet is so important here. Think of it like a permanent, decentralized public library for data. And finally, we'll weigh the risks and the potential rewards.
Now, you might be thinking, hey, if the problem is just trust, why not just throw everything on a public blockchain? Problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. The moment you try to do that, you slam right into this huge conflict, a real paradox between the world of public transparency and the world of private compliance. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the regulators. They demand privacy. You have to protect farmer data. You have to keep financial details secret, all that good stuff. But on the other side, you have the market. And the market is demanding radical transparency. They want an unchangeable public record that proves what they're buying is the real deal. These two forces are just fundamentally pulling in opposite directions.
So, how do you solve a problem where you're forced to make an impossible choice? Well, you find a clever way to not have to choose at all. And this is exactly where Dirichlet split ledger architecture comes into play. It's a way to give both the regulators and the market exactly what they want, with no compromises.
The secret sauce is right here in the definition. You decouple the data. You just have to realize that financial data, like who paid who for what, is a totally different beast than physical data, like what is the quality of this specific bale of hemp. So instead of trying to cram them both into the same system, you build two separate, specialized systems designed to do one thing perfectly.
And this is where it gets really brilliant, using a fantastic analogy from the source material. Think of layer A as the bank. It's totally private, it's permissioned, it's locked down. This is where all the sensitive stuff lives. Farmer identities, wallet addresses, the money. Only the company and the regulators have the keys. Then you have layer B, the library. This is public, it's permanent, it's for everyone to see. It stores the physical facts, the quality, the weight, the origin, and this is key, it's all anonymous.
Okay, so that's the theory. Let's make it real. We're going to follow one single bale of hemp, starting on a farm in Uganda, and we're going to watch its digital twin get born as it becomes a truly trustless commodity on the world stage. But first, before we follow the bale, we have to understand where the trust is actually coming from. And here's the spoiler, it's not a person, it's the machine itself. The processing node has a special security chip inside. It's called a Trusted Platform Module, or TPM, and it basically acts as a cryptographic notary. This chip creates a signature that is mathematically impossible to fake, proving that this specific machine saw this specific event at this specific time. So here's how it all goes down. Step 1. The hemp gets fed into the machine in Uganda. Step 2. An AI model on board analyzes it and grades it, like instantly. Step 3. This is the magic moment. The data splits. The private financial data zips off to the secure bank, and the public, anonymous quality data, it gets cryptographically signed and sent to the public library on Freenet. From that point on, a buyer in London can just scan a QR code on that bale and instantly verify everything themselves.
I mean, this quote from the project's own documents just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point is to shift the trust away from a company's promise to a mathematical proof. The seller isn't saying, hey, trust me, my database is accurate. They're saying the proof is right here on a public network that I don't even control. Go check it yourself.
Okay, so the crypto-savvy people watching are probably yelling at their screens right now, why Freenet? Why not Ethereum or VeChain or some other big-name blockchain? And that is an excellent question. This was a very, very deliberate choice, and honestly, it's the reason this whole thing is even economically possible.
This table just makes the difference so clear. Blockchains like Ethereum, they're built for transactions. They're digital banks. Freenet, on the other hand, is built for data permanence and censorship resistance. It's a digital library. Blockchains are great for tiny bits of data that represent money. Freenet is built to store the heavy stuff, images, sensor logs, you name it, and to store it forever. That permanence is what makes the whole system work.
And folks, this is the absolute killer feature, the cost. If you tried to store a high-res image of that hemp bale on Ethereum, you could be paying $50 or more in what they call gas fees. It's a non-starter. But Freenet was designed for this kind of data storage, so the cost of adding another certificate, another photo, another terabyte of truth data is basically zero. This is the economic reality that makes the public library possible.
And, beyond just the cost, there are other huge wins here. That hardware root of trust makes the data incredibly hard to fake. The split design keeps private data safe, which keeps the regulators happy. And this last point, this is so powerful. Because the proof lives on the decentralized Freenet, it's resilient. If a company were to just vanish tomorrow, the farmer's entire history of quality, all that proof, would still be there, accessible to them forever. That is true data ownership.
Okay, so the tech is amazing, no doubt. But is it a good business? Let's take a clear-eyed look at the potential money to be made and, just as important, the very real risks that have to be navigated to get there.
So the financial story here is really like a 3-act play. Year 1 is the burn, investing almost $300,000 to build out the software and prove the tech. Year 2 is the turn, when the project flips to being profitable as that recurring software revenue starts to kick in. And then year 3, that's the scale, where profitability just explodes because, well, the cost of adding one more customer to a software platform is next to nothing. But look, this isn't a guaranteed slam dunk. There are some serious risks. Freenet itself is brand new technology, which is why a centralized backup is part of the plan for the first year. You've got potential regulatory hurdles. Buyers might find Freenet too clunky to use directly, so they'll need a simple web portal to bridge the gap. And of course, the classic challenge for any oracle. If an attacker can fool the physical cameras or scales, the system will perfectly and permanently record a lie. The oracle is only as good as its census.
And that really brings us to the final thought. This whole thing starts with a bale of hemp in Uganda, but the implications are just so much bigger. Once you have a machine that can serve as an incorruptible witness to physical reality, what else can you make trustless? Carbon credits? Proof of where your minerals were mined? Water rights? The potential to fundamentally rebuild trust in our global systems, right from the hardware up, it is truly profound.